Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank the Great Seven, the virtues of the Masters, the mercy and compassion of grand predecessors, transmitters, temple masters, lecturers, and others for giving me this opportunity to continue on the topic of chapter 20 on Tao Te Ching. Okay. All right. So here's the overview. Okay. So we finished section 1. We're just about halfway. Section 2. Okay. All right. And let's see. We stopped here. The first half of section 2, and then the next half, and then we're gonna finish. All right. So the section 2 that we're in right now is the you can say it's the analysis part. It's and it's very important because it'll if you understand this, then it'll lead to the conclusion, or you'll understand the conclusion. Now, there are some questions about, some people might say, well, he's saying, if you look at the first statement, it sounds very extreme, right? It's saying, stop learning and, you don't have any more worries. This is a translation. I mean, hopefully in our explanation, we talked about what that stop is to, right? Stop relying too much on book knowledge, okay? And also understand that to stop learning means not to learn dualism or not to rely on dualism. And understand that whatever learning we're doing today or in this physical world or, is just knowledge. It's neither good or bad, okay? Just a tool, all right? And so if we don't know anything else, we're just relying on that tool, right? I mean, yeah, right? So what he's saying, there's another way, and that is to learn the absolute, okay? So he's not saying that you can't learn knowledge, which is dualistic or dualism. He's not saying that. This is not a either or proposition. It's not a zero-sum game, understand? Zero-sum game. It's either this or that. That's it. Nothing in between. That's not what the Tao is. That's not, as a matter of fact, if you understand, all the scriptures, not just Lao Tzu, but Confucius, as well as the Buddhist scripture, it's not that. It's not either or, okay? It's very important, all right? Okay, so people might say, well, okay, I just want to make clear, all right? When he said stop learning dualism, and you have no more worries, because if you could learn about duality, about the absolute, right, then you can transcend dualism, okay? Because all the worries, et cetera, okay, all the vexations, worries come from duality, okay? So if you could learn the absolute, then you transcend duality. Okay, so that's the highest level, the ideal. Meanwhile, you also can learn knowledge, okay? Can make a living, can do it. You have to do, and why is that? Lao Tzu didn't say, give up school, give up your job, give up your families, give up your career, okay? Or give up your knowledge or throw out the knowledge and do nothing. No, what he said down here, third sentence, fifth phrase, is here, right? What the people fear, I cannot be in fear. In other words, he also fears what other people fear. And what is that? It's not obviously just life and death, right? Right? Not just life and death, right? But you have to make a living, right? You have to live, right? How are you going to survive? You're going to have to eat. You're going to have to have a roof over your head. You're going to have clothes, etc. So you still have to make a living. And people, how do they make a living? They have to apply their knowledge, right? They're learning. So Lao Tzu is saying that on the physical level, right, he's the same, right? Sages and ordinary people are similar in respect, external. So that means already hints at that Lao Tzu is not saying you have to totally, completely, absolutely reject your what? Job, your school, etc., your families, etc. No, you still have to live in society, right? Lives among humans. You still have to survive. So physically, that's a reality. So Lao Tzu is not saying that, well, you have to reject that. No. Okay. So the key is what Lao Tzu is pointing out in this chapter, mainly is about the difference between him and other people, is that the people just focus on this, period. All they're concerned about is, getting ahead, making more money, etc., and nothing on the spiritual side. I'm saying not nothing. Not everybody's is like that, but majority, right? Some people have some spiritual. I mean, that's a little bit better, but even then, that's not the highest level. But so Lao Tzu is saying sages like himself, even though he doesn't consider himself sage, but are different not on the external aspect as much as on the internal aspect, which is this next line, right? That's what he was talking about, okay? So what he was saying is that even though on the physical level, they may be the same, everybody's the same. They have to live, they have to eat, etc., etc., etc. But what's more important, or the big difference is internally. All right? Okay? So that's what this chapter is focused on. Okay? He's pointing out the differences between ordinary people and you say people on an enlightened path. It's because externally, they're the same. They're in society, they have families, they have jobs, they have schools, etc. They go to school, they learn knowledge, but there's something else that's unique, that's higher, and that's this. Okay, that's internally they learn the absolute. Okay, you can say that they found the center, right? That's what this line's about. That they find the source. They understood that we have also, besides our physical selves, we have an internal self that's everlasting, that's always there, right? Okay, so that's what. Okay, so that's what the rest of the chapter he's talking about. So this is all external, right? I mean, there's internal, emotional, excitement, etc. Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, so that's the overview. Okay, so far. Okay, so far. Now let's go down to where we left off. I took about 10 minutes. Okay. Okay, where are we? I think we left off here, right? So we finished this, right? Okay. No. Did we? Yeah, we left off here, right? I just want to make sure. God, let's see. Hold on. See, where do we? Yeah, we left off at phrase 13, right? Yeah. Okay. So now let's. Okay. All right. Good. All right. All right. So okay. So just Okay. So this is a counter statement. This third counter statement is a counter, just as a review. It's a counter to this. Okay. This phrase. Okay. So he had three counter statements, 1, 2, 3. And as I said, the first counter says, he said, he is quiet. He was quiet and involved. But the deeper meaning of this, he alone, okay, what's this he alone is this, okay? So we have to understand what's the deeper meaning of, not just physically he's alone, okay, or unique, but rather that he, understood. Okay, he understood that he is at one with his spiritual side, or say eternal side, and the physical side. Okay, so that's the essence and function, etc., etc. And what is this internal side, internal self is this, right? Not perturbed, still, okay, not pursuing and not tainted, okay? So it's similar to this, okay, what Buddha said. Okay, so, and this term appears 5 more times, which, we, we, which if you understand the, the true meaning, the higher meaning, it makes sense, okay? All right, so, okay, this is second counter, third counter. Okay, now let's continue. Okay, so this is still section 2, the second half. Okay, so the masses or the people, crowd, all have surplus, while I alone seem lacking. Okay, so let's go to this. Okay, the basic meaning is this: people hope to possess more and more material things. The more things, the better. Okay, yeah, surplus. That's what it means. Okay, it's pronounced yu. Sounds, it's similar sound to fish. So that's why in especially Chinese New Year traditions, they always have to have a fish, right? In the meal, right? The New Year celebration meal. Because the word fish, yu, sounds the same as surplus. Okay, so the idea is, this is going to be a bountiful year. I mean, yeah, in the agrarian society in the past, yeah, most are farmers, so they hope to, next year have a better harvest. So, they'll be more prosperous, make more money, etc., etc. Okay, all right. So the other meaning of the first phrase means, unfortunately, if we emphasize, having more and more, especially material things, it often leads to materialism where often people take it to the extreme of greed and hoarding. That's the unfortunate side. Look at today's world. All right. Especially pretty much, I think all over the world now, it's the economic system that's in practice today in pretty much, I would say 99, 95, 99% of the world economies is capitalism, right? Which is basically, individuals seeking out, profit or companies. Okay. All right. And if you could go to the United Nations website, okay, and look up some of those statistics about world economies or stuff like that. I think as of last year or maybe 2 years ago, the top 1%, people who are the wealthiest, the top 1% of the world, I think they own, according to the statistics, more than 50% of the world's wealth. That's a result of capitalism. Okay, that's capitalism doesn't put a brakes on how much you can pursue. Okay, there's no such thing. There's no upper limit. Sky's the limit, right? But that's what it leads. Over, obviously this didn't happen overnight. It happened probably over the last 50, maybe even 100 years. Okay. Now, that's a shocking statistic. Do you think? I mean, now let's look at a value perspective. Do you think that, hey, this is normal? Yeah, the 1% should own 50%. No, not even that. They probably should own 99.9% of everything. Does that make sense? All right. Okay. So, but that's, you can say, and the trend, the scary part is that trend is continuing, i.e., the top 1%, probably they say in the next projection. I mean, projections are kind of, based on a lot of assumptions, but generally, they project that, in the next, I think 30, I forgot, it's not too long, not too far, they're going to own like 60, 70, 2/3 the world's wealth, the top 1%. I mean, that's the trend. Okay. So, you should ask yourself, is that considered quote unquote normal I mean, that's the way it should be, right? Is that normal? Is that good? So, unfortunately, that's the reality of the capitalist system. Okay, they place no upper limit. All right. So, you tell me if the top 1% should own 99.999% of the world's wealth. You tell me if that makes sense or is that right? Obviously, it's not. So that's the unfortunate result of this, okay, of this type of mentality, this type of, drive, go, okay? So that's what it is, okay? So further understanding is that's within our thoughts by hoping to present more things that depends on become stronger, okay? We rely on that. That becomes our motivation, all right? All right, the basic meaning of the second phrase, while I alone seem lacking, is that he appears to have lost it all, that he's lacking in material things. Yeah, that he's not out there pursuing, right? Making money at all cost or, getting more and more. That's what the stock market rewards, right? If your quarterly profit earnings keep increasing, your stock market keeps going up, right? Because people say, hey, I'm going to get more dividends. The stock price is going to appreciate. So I should buy more of that stock. Okay. All right. So another meaning of the first phrase, it means this, that, Lao Tzu, rather than focusing on getting more and more material things, he prefers to focus on simplicity, the practical yet spacious kind of utilitarian. All right, it just means simple, less clutter, less complexity. Okay, all right. Further understanding is if we pursue more surplus, the more reliant we become on them. After becoming reliant, then we will not diligently cultivate Tao. Not diligently cultivating means not to achieve. Okay. Yeah, this is the flip side. It's not to say, like I said from the very beginning today, that you can't make money. Okay, you can't not have a job. Okay, or you cannot have a job. Sorry, it's not that. Okay, it's not an either or proposition. Okay, you have to survive, right? You have to live. So yeah, sure, you can. The question is how much? How much do you do it? How much do you pursue it? Right? It's a question of degree. Okay, so it's not either or, this or none. Okay, or that or none. Okay, all right. Now, just as reference perspective, when Buddha, okay, was starting his monastery, or not monastery, his monastic order. That is, he's starting to accept disciples, right? To want to learn, about the Tao, about his, about the Dharma. Okay, capital D, Dharma. Okay, so he established some basic rules, right? What did he say to his monks? Okay, he'll accept them. He doesn't care what sort of background you have. You have to have, advanced degree, you have to have, pass an IQ test or something like that. No, he doesn't care. Okay, you could be very poor, commoner, or you could be the elite class, the Brahmin class. Okay, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, he doesn't. But it's no matter what background you came from, you have to follow the rules, the monastic precepts. Okay, and they're very basic. I think it's three basic. One, you have to give up all your material things, your wealth. So if you were a prince, a lot of them were from the royalty or aristocracy. You have to give them all. You can't still be his monk and still possess those things. Okay, so that's the first thing. Right. Second thing, I think he says you can only have like 2 sets or 3 sets of robes or clothes. Okay, that's it. Okay, and then the third thing is you get a begging bowl. That means what? you don't you don't have meal. You don't. How can I say? You don't have your own chefs. Okay, you don't cook. Okay, you don't do any of those things. You just go out begging for food. Okay, all right. Now, in today's world, I think very few people will follow that. Very few, very, very few. Okay, probably almost none. Okay, but Buddha had a reason for that. Okay, and no, also sorry, the third one is not just a begging, but no, you go beg, but you only eat one meal a day. Okay, no, that's the third rule. Okay, all right. Okay. So, but why? And Buddha talked about it. I forgot which in the early Agama sutras. Agama means precept, discipline. Okay, Vinaya. Okay. Uh, he said he wanted his monks to focus on learning the Dharma and not have to worry about, do I have, enough clothes? Do I have enough money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that's why he wanted them to give up all their material things, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, all right, wealth, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so he wanted them to focus. His view was that if you want to become his disciple, it meant that you are going to be singularly focused on learning the Dharma, learning the way, period. All right? So that's you can say that's one extreme. Okay? It worked in the red period. Okay, because you can say lives are simpler, it's less complex, etc. But today's world, it's very difficult to do it that way, to approach it that way, right? Okay, so that's why Confucius, used another approach, right? So that's a different. Okay, it's not that one is better than the other; they're just different means, different methods. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's a reference. Okay, just reference. All right. Okay, so the deeper meaning, okay, of this word "yi," I think, right, means to disregard, to get rid of, 排除, okay, which means 摒除, okay, which means that's this lacking means, okay, all right, that he is rejecting or getting rid of or renouncing. You can say relinquish, okay, the material, seeking surpluses, or which means not to be reliant on external things. Okay, so the deeper meaning is, after we reject these external things, material things, then we can enter our true form. Then that is the truth, since all delusions are removed, right? Okay, so it's that's the meaning, another meaning or deeper meaning, if you will, of this term. We use this term a lot. Let go of all karmic affinities. Yes, it does mean we should not cling to these affinities, these karmic, rewards or retributions, etc., etc. Okay, yes, it does mean that. That's external, right? I mean, it's external, right? Your interaction with others, right? That's karmic affinity or relations. Okay, relationship. It's your, the self, yourself, and your interaction with or relationship with the external world, right? Be it with your relatives, friends, colleagues, society, and also the external environment. Okay, all right. So that's one level. That's what this means. Okay, let go of all karmic. But there's an internal aspect. Okay, all right. That's the whole thing about Buddha nature study. Right? There's besides the external or superficial level, there's an internal or higher level, and that is to remove all delusions. Okay, that's the internal meaning of this term, 忘缘放下. Okay, all delusions. Remove all your delusions, which is your mind, right? I mean, what's in your mind? So, all right. So that's what Wang Yuan found. So therefore, this phrase also encompasses, the three minds and the four we call marks. Okay, four marks. Mainly the ego. The ego, the ego, the personality, ego, personality. Let's say 我相, 人相, no, yeah, 我相, 人相, 众相, then 受相. Okay, so that. Okay, all right. So the further understanding is that there are generally two types of tests for cultivators. All right, there's the smooth test, 顺考, where you have fame, fortune, and power. Unfortunately, this is very difficult to achieve Buddhahood. Okay, and why is that? I have history on my side. Okay, let's go to the extreme example. Buddha, he was born a prince, so he had this, he had everything, he had this, right? Then after his, the famous story of the 4 sights, right? When he saw a baby, I think what is that? Baby, a sick person, an old person, and I think a funeral or something like that, right? What those things. Okay. Then he understood. Whoa, even though he had all these fame, fortune, and power, he still can't escape those 4 things that he saw, or 4 events that he saw, right? So he decided he understood, he realized right away that, he couldn't rely on these, right? Okay, these are external things, right? So he gave them all. He relinquished, that's called relinquishment. Right? He gave them all, and he left the palace, in his mid, some people say it's mid, some people say late 20s, okay? All right? So, and he, you say cultivator, searched, maybe that's a better term, search for 6 years. He searched 2 gurus, masters, to want to answer that question. Okay, how can he avoid, this, the cycle of life and death, basically. That's what it is. Okay, all right. So that's the first. All right. The first test called smooth tests. Most of the I think people would say, hey, let me have this. Okay. But the result is that it's very difficult to achieve. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I can't think in history of a Buddha who also had fame, fortune, and power. I can't think of one. I mean, if you can, let me know. Okay. All right. The second test for Daoko is the adverse test, 逆考, where you have little or no fame, fortune, power. But what's great about this, even though you have little of this or none, it's easier to achieve Buddhahood. I also have history on my side. Okay, let's look at Jesus. I mean, he wasn't born into fame, fortune, and power. That's true. He was a carpenter's son, I think. Okay. Anyway, but he became enlightened. Right. Okay. Let's look at the 6th patriarch. Right. He definitely had no fame, fortune, and power. Right. He was illiterate, but he was a Buddha. He became a Buddha. Let's look at. Let's see. Not Bodhidharma, because he was a Brahmin. So he has some of this. Throughout history, let's look at that. Okay. So I can, so I can point to more Buddhas who came from number 2 than number 1. Okay. All right. Okay. So, Guan Yin is number 1, but anyway. Okay. Okay. All right. So higher understanding of second phrase. Okay. He rejected all the material things, surplus. So he's not relying on external things because he is pure, untainted by fame, fortune, or wealth. 存, right? 不被名利沾染. So line 7 had to do with this. Okay. This is line 7. All right. Okay. So that's this. Okay. All right. Okay. So, all right. So he's not tainted, or he's not, you can say influenced or under the control, okay, of needing to have surplus, okay? Or, pursuing these materialistic, ends, okay? All right? Okay. Next. Oops, sorry. Okay, let's go down to, where is it? Okay. Okay, next line. Oh, God. Okay. I have the heart of a fool indeed, so naive or ignorant. Okay. Some translations or some texts use 纯纯 versus 顿顿. Okay. All right. 纯纯 means pure, literally, but it just means genuine. Okay. It just means genuine, naive, honest, pure. 顿顿 means confused. Okay. Either ignorant, it means ignorant too. Okay. All right. Confused, chaotic. Okay. So the basic meaning is this: I'm a fool from the ordinary people. Yeah, because you're not pursuing more and more. Yeah, isn't more and more better? Right? So you're not. So you must be a fool. Okay. So the other meaning is the preferences and actions of sages like us are considered foolish. Yeah, by ordinary people. Yeah, you know so much, and yet why not? Why don't you, go become, I don't know, an official or a I don't know, an entrepreneur, make a ton of money, okay, all right, or have a lot of power or fame. Okay, another understanding: having is a good thing, then having more must be better, right? So if you can't see that or understand that, you must be either foolish or ignorant. Okay, so that's from most people's perspective. Okay, the deeper meaning of 纯纯 is this: it's to maintain the very purity and simplicity, which represents our pure and original true self. Remember chapter, is it 19? Yeah, maintaining, simplicity. Okay, so this purity is the most difficult to achieve, unfortunately. Okay, all right. So, okay, and dun dun represents the primordial state before the start of duality, the original state. You can say the simple state too. Okay, so that we talked about that. I think it's in chapter. Yeah, it's in part 4 of part 4 of chapter 19. Show plainness and whole simplicity. Okay, all right, all right. Okay, so the deeper understanding is of this line is okay. It's to hold on to the very pureness and simplicity, which is our Buddha nature. Okay, that we talked about. That was talked about in chapter 19. Okay, all right. So the higher understanding is all the truth, goodness, and beauty comes forth from this perspective of purity and simplicity. Okay, it's non-dualistic. Okay, all right. Okay. Implication is that by maintaining purity and simplicity, we can display the true intrinsic qualities of our Buddha nature. Okay, so that was discussed in chapter 19. Yeah, chapter 19. So the key point: being able to maintain purity and simplicity are the best ways for us to guard against contrived outward display of reputation, cleverness. It's chapter 19. Forced display of benevolence, that's undeserved gains. Okay, that's chapter 19. Sorry. Okay, so that's what this. Okay, so all right. Okay. This is the last of section 2, I believe. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh no, sorry. We're in section 3 now. Sorry. Okay, section 3. Yeah, this. 1, 2. Huh. Oh yeah. Okay. I lost my place. Okay. So now we're finished with the analysis or the section. Second section. Okay. We finished the second half. Okay. Now we're coming to the third section or it's not the completely last section, just one more, but it's That's the conclusion. But basically, this is the now he's describing this section. The section 3 is the differences. He's pointing out to some of the differences, okay, between ordinary people and himself, okay, and explaining why, okay. All right. So section 3, first line. Ordinary people are bright, and I alone am muddled, okay. Okay. This word it's zao, okay, zao. So now in ancient Chinese usage, okay, when they what's that? When they repeat, okay, when they repeat the words, it just means to an extreme degree or to a very high degree or level. Okay, all right. So that's why zao just means it's a positive. The superficial meaning anyway. It's positive. It means bright, remark, clear, illustrate. Okay, all right. So the basic meaning of this first half of the phrase means, people are bright, means that how they're calculating, they're competitive. Okay, they're looking out for themselves, for their own self-interest and benefit. Okay, so all right. Okay, so the other meaning of the first phrase is prefers the guidance. Yeah, he prefer the guidance of principles instead of detailed calculations. Okay, that's another meaning. Okay. Now there's a deeper meaning of zao, which is the negative aspect, which is calculating, shrewd, our display clever, and intelligence. Okay. All right. So the further understanding of this first phrase is that this calculating in terms of personal benefits. Okay. What's in it for me, right? What will I gain, etc., etc. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Now let's go to the second phrase, which is this, which is pronounced hun. Okay, that just means okay, muddle. Okay, that's what one definition. Okay, so the last two words of second phrase means confused, muddled. Okay, it could mean twilight, dark. Okay, it could also be a verb. Okay, all right. So the basic meaning of the second phrase is he's not interested in competing. Yeah. Okay, he's not. Okay. So, which is a counterpoint to this, right? To the first phrase, that people are, out to get ahead, right? So the additional understanding of this phrase is no need to keep score or get even with people. Does not mean that you let people take advantage of you. Okay, so there's a difference. Once again, it's not that either or. Okay, zero-sum game mentality. Okay, all right. Further understanding is to follow the guidance of principles, not calculations, schemes, etc. Okay, there's a deeper meaning of hun. Okay, it's to be or to stand in the true form. No, to be at one. And how can I say that? Well, this phrase, right? So externally, it just means he's alone. He stands out. He's unique, okay, or special. But internally, he's at one, right? Both physically and you can say his Buddha nature. Okay, he's at one. So therefore, he is in the true form. Okay, all right. So that's why it's good. It's you need to understand this phrase, right? What the deeper meaning. Once you know the deeper meaning, then this makes sense. Okay, all right. Where is it? Right here. Okay. So yeah, where is it? Okay, so the deeper understanding is to be within the eternal truth and true form. Okay, so all right, or to stand. That's what literally, but it just means to be one. All right, with your Buddha nature. Okay, all right, that's that word do. Okay, signifies. Okay, so the higher understanding. People are all within the false forms. Yeah, because they're out to make more and more. They are calculating, competing, right? Whereas by being at one with the Buddha nature, he's still not pursuing fame, fortune, and wealth. So that's line 7. That's the other characteristic, right? Okay, from above. Right, that's one of the, you can say, attributes of I alone, or being that one. Okay, so the implication is what people display outwardly is clever. Yeah, they're using their knowledge to get ahead, right? To you can say, take advantage of a situation or people, to get more, to et cetera, et cetera. All either for fame, wealth, or fortune, or fame, fortune, and power. But their actions are still very foolish, okay, from the Buddha nature perspective, okay? Because, and why is that? Because in the course of getting ahead, of, getting what? Getting more fame, fortune, or power, we what? Create karma. Some is unwittingly, some is wittingly, or some is unconsciously or consciously. Okay. So we end up creating karma, and what happens? Yeah, the karma may not manifest, or the results of that karma may not show in this lifetime, but it'll definitely show up in the future lifetimes. So that means you continue to reincarnate, samsara. Okay. All right. So key point is people are all within the false illusory forms, not realizing that they're all false. Okay. So, because, that's all what they know, right? That's what learning duality, learning knowledge, duality, that's what we pursue. We end up pursuing. Okay. So, all right. So that's what this means. Okay. All right. The next, the second, you can say, line of this section 3. Okay. So ordinary people, 俗人, right? Some people, some books have 众人, same thing. I mean, 俗人, ordinary people, are scrutinizing, I alone and obtuse. Okay, yeah. All right, 查查 means to examine, okay, to investigate, to scrutinize, right? Okay, so the basic meaning of first phrase, ordinary scrutinize or examine or investigate a situation to get ahead of others. Okay, another meaning is people are bickering with each other, but he won't. Okay, so the deeper meaning of 查查 is this. It's hyper harsh, being hyper harsh, constantly critical, overly aggressive, always looking for an edge or an advantage. Could argue, bickering, and unhaggling. Okay, that's the negative aspect. You can say this is the positive, definite or positive traits or qualities of tata, but this is the negative. Okay, all right, okay. There's always duality here. Okay, so the deeper understanding is this. Of this line, or because people want to get ahead, they end up competing and scheming against each other. Yeah, okay. 狗心斗角. Okay, all right. The last two words. This is what 闷闷 pronounced 闷闷, right? Okay, yeah, 闷闷. Okay, or yeah. Okay, it's kind of negative. I mean, not negative, but it's sad. Okay, it's dejected. It means depressed, feel oppressed, gloomy, heavy-hearted, sad, vexed, confused, ignorant. It could also mean ignorant. All right. Okay, so that's what we say obtuse. Yeah, you can say he's muddled. Yeah, it's like muddled. He's not too bright. Okay, not too smart. He doesn't examine. He doesn't scrutinize. Right. He doesn't look for an edge or take advantage, right? Okay, so okay, so the basic meaning of second phrase, he prefers being mellow and relaxed instead of grasping and controlling. Okay, that's okay. All right. Another understanding is to bicker is to harm one's own interest. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You become vulnerable. Okay, to that, right? But here's a deeper meaning of man. It just means it's unperturbed state of our Buddha nature that is calm, peaceful, relaxed, serene, still, and tranquil, the changeless essence. Okay, 寂不变之体. Okay, right? 寂 means still. Okay, calm. It could mean lonely too, but it means still, tranquil, calm. Okay, now, did I miss something? Okay. Yeah, I think I missed something. This phrase, well, okay, no, okay. Basically, because here's another key, because he's alone, okay, or that means he's at one. So therefore, he is unperturbed, okay? So, oh, here it is. Okay, so the deeper understanding is, while most people are contending with one another, okay, he remains unperturbed, 不动, calm, serene, and tranquil, because he's not influenced by fame, fortune, and wealth. Okay, 不受名利的影响. It's one of the qualities of the, I alone, or being at one. Okay, all right. So the higher understanding is to bicker or argue is to oppose or protest, which is a display of a strong ego. Yeah. Okay. All right. Obviously, obviously, if you're humble, you you probably wouldn't, or you do it in another way. Okay, do this. Okay, so implication is those who tend to bicker and protest will not cultivate the Tao well. Yeah, imagine Buddha's disciples. When Buddha gave those three basic rules of his monastic order, some people will protest. If you're going to say, "Hey, Buddha, that's not fair, right? I have to give up everything. I can't have my favorite chef cook my meals for me. I can't wear my good, expensive clothes and stuff." Yeah, they're so attached, right, to what they have or what they're used to. It's highly likely that they won't cultivate the Tao. Okay, all right, all right. So a strong ego will lead to opposition and protest. By eliminating one's ego, only can one merge together with the world as one to achieve the union of heaven and humans. Okay, humanity. All right. Okay. All right. Then, okay, this is the now this is kind of like a summarizing, the qualities by being at one. Okay, when he's at one, right, he is unperturbed, plus he, what is it? He, what? He's still, right? Still and unperturbed, right? Those are the two. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So now comes the summary. This is close to the end of section 3. Okay. Summary. He says, such tranquility, like the ocean, floating about as if without limits. Okay. So, being at one with that, not contending, bickering, seeking advantage to get ahead, not being hyper harsh, scrutinizing, etc. Okay, overly aggressive, etc. Okay, bickering. Okay, so what is that like? Well, he said it's basically compared to the noise, bickering, and restless activities or calculating activities of people in the above 2 lines, he felt as if he's immersed in the tranquil depths of the ocean. Okay, that's basic. He's describing, you don't know, you guys are all out there, competing against each other, always coming up with schemes to get ahead, etc., etc. Well, but by not doing those things, it feels like I'm in this great, great wide ocean, and it's so peaceful, just floating around. Okay, so there's additional understandings that the mind is very broad. So that's the external, right? The external metaphor, okay, of being, calm, still, etc., unperturbed. But internally, the mind is broad and vast. It's also very plain and simple. Okay, so the deeper understanding is the mind does not have a mind of gain and loss, advantage. Okay, that's very interesting. So it's non-dualistic. Okay, it's really a mind of relinquishment. Okay, all right. So the higher understanding is our Buddha nature is naturally still and tranquil, right? That's why he was at one, right? His Buddha nature, and his physical body, they're one. Okay, they're they're merged together. So the body is whatever the body and the mind think, it's in accordance with this Buddha nature. All right, and our Buddha nature is naturally still and tranquil. Okay, 寂静. Okay, so the first word 飘 of the second phrase means to drift. Yeah, drift about. Okay, floating about. Okay, all right. Where? Okay, here? Okay, yeah, here. Okay, floating about. Okay, okay. So the basic meaning of the second phrase is compared to the dogmatic beliefs people tend to hold. Lao Tzu feels as if he's drifting calmly across the limitless ocean. Okay, so that's all right. Okay, additional understanding is the second phrase is the functions and applications of Buddha nature are infinite and limitless. Like this wide ocean. Okay, this limitless ocean. Okay, all right. Okay. So the higher understanding is the mind is not attached to any forms, like I said, relinquishment. Okay. Deeper understanding. Second phrase is he's drifting about all over without any obstructions. Yeah, there's no obstructions. All right. There's nothing to block. Okay, block. His progress or his his let's say his actions. It's because he doesn't cling. He didn't cling to anything. All right. Everything is gone. There's nothing to obstruct. Okay. So and the why is that? Because it's not attached to forms. Okay. All right. So without any attachment to forms, he's free, unfettered, and carefree. Okay. So the key point of this line is without attachment to forms, one is free and unfettered, which allows our mind to be flexible and nimble. Okay. So all right. So that's what this means. Okay. So now let's go to the last sentence of section 3. Okay. 众人, okay, the multitude all have goals, and I alone am stubborn and lowly. Okay, all right, okay. So this word "yi," even though it's normally used as it's a verb or a preposition. I think it's a prepositional phrase. Okay, but in this context, it's a noun, which means aim, goal, objective, purpose. Okay, so the basic meaning of first phrase is most people have some kind of goals, objective, which is not wrong. It's not wrong. The problem is if you become so stubborn to it, and that's all there is. Then then that's once again, it's too narrow. It becomes narrow, right? Okay, all right, all right, okay, all right. Actually, all these goals should be a means to the higher end. But unfortunately, people don't know what the higher end is. Okay? All right. So the additional understanding of the first phrase, all right? Where's my note? Okay. All right. Is that most goals are materialistic, right? That's the problem. Okay. That's where we end up in, okay, with issues. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. How come I? Okay. So it becomes just focused on materialistic ends, such as, accumulating wealth or climbing the social ladder. Okay. All right. So the deeper meaning is this. Yeah. Okay. So externally, yeah, it's pursuing, materialistic ends, etc. But the deeper meaning is people all have their subjective consciousness. Okay. Very interesting. You can say ego. Okay. That gives rise to ego. It's differentiation. Okay. That's what I'm trying to get at. Subjective and objective. Okay. So higher understanding of the first phase is our subjective consciousness comes about after having the physical body. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. All right. Okay. And the deeper understanding, once the physical body is gone, the subjective consciousness also disappears. So that's why it's illusory. Okay. So our subjective ego, you can say ego, it is illusory because once a physical body, where's your ego? I don't know. Disappear. It doesn't exist. Okay. So it's illusory. Okay. All right. The fourth word, one. Right. This means one. Yeah. Fourth word. Okay. Of this phrase, right? One. Okay. One. Wan gu. Okay. It refers to wan gu, which means stubborn. Okay. So it just means dense, foolish. Okay. Stubborn. Okay. This is qie. Right. Qie. I don't need to go with this. Okay, let's look at this last word. B. That's B. Okay. It means out of the way. It could mean remote. It could mean humble, crude, coarse. Okay, in this context, it's coarse. Okay, so the basic meaning of the second phrase is I alone and stubborn and lowly. Okay, humble, coarse. Okay, low mean. Okay, is that his goals are on the spiritual side, different from most people. So people see him as stubborn because he does not engage in social competition. Okay, or getting ahead, and lowly because his fancies are just not that important to him. Okay, fame, right? Status. Okay, all right. Okay, so the deeper understanding of second phrase is to stubbornly hold on to the purity and simplicity of Tao. Do not deviate from Tao, permanently residing or at one with the Buddha nature. So that's part of the qualities of I alone. Okay, the trait. Okay, internally, right? The oneness, okay, of the external and the internal self. Okay, so that quality is okay here, right? Is he doesn't deviate. He's at one. We say stubbornly. He's unmovable from purity and simplicity. Okay, all right, or does not deviate. You can say. Okay, the higher understanding is being humble without any ego. Right, the subjective concept is to be without any subjective consciousness. Okay, so the implication is he Lao Tzu stubbornly holds on to his ideas of Tao, or you can say his view, understanding of Tao, which is to hold on to the true constancy. Okay, this is chapter, I think 16. Okay, we talked about, which is the same as not let a single thought arise. Right, we use this term, the second term, right? To let go of all karmic affinities, 妄言放下, and to not a single thought arise, 一念不生. What does that mean? Yeah, okay, 一念不生. Okay, yeah, externally or one aspect, one half is try not to think, have all these delusional thoughts. That's true. Okay, that's true. Okay, that's what it means. But there's an higher level, and the other half, which is what? To hold on to constancy. Okay, you can say 常住真心. It's similar. Okay, 守真常. Okay, we talked about in chapter 16, I believe. Okay, all right. So the key point is this: by holding on to the purity and simplicity of Tao, is to have goals that transcend the material world. Okay, so we also have goals. Yeah, the multitude have goals. Unfortunately, it's mostly materialistic, right? Mostly, I would say, big majority. But the sage or the enlightened person, also have goals, which is what? By holding on to this, you transcend the material world. Okay? All right, so that's the bigger goal. Okay? To transcend samsara, no more suffering, no more cycle of birth, death, rebirth, etc., etc., etc. Okay, continuously. All right. Okay. Now, I'm on the last section, conclusion. Okay, I'm an hour already. Okay, so I might go into like 70 minutes or so, 75. Okay. All right. So, okay. I alone am different. This is section 4, the concluding line. I am alone and different from them and valuing the nourishing mother. Okay, all right. So once again, the phrase I alone. Okay, all right. This word, E means different. Yeah, okay. Diverse, okay. Let's look at this. Okay, basic meaning. He is different from other people, based on the lines above, right? Especially in section 2 and 3. Okay. All right. Okay. Section 2 and 3. Okay. So additional understanding. Sages are different from ordinary people because they do not value the pursuit of fame, fortune, or wealth, nor reliance on status, position, or power. Right? Okay. Unlike ordinary people, we mostly value, pursuing fame, fortune, or wealth. And we tend to rely on either that or status, position, and power. Okay, all right, that's the difference between sages and we say 凡人, okay, or 俗人, okay. So the deeper understanding of this first phrase is this I alone am different from them, okay. He's different from other people because he's at one with the Tao, 唯一, while other people are abiding in forms, both internally and spiritually, okay. So see line 7, okay, which is the I alone, okay. All right. All right. Okay. Gui. Gui means to value. Okay. It means expensive too, but a verb means to value. Okay. The last two words, nourishing mother. Okay. So yeah, yeah, it means to eat. 食 means to eat. It means diet, or it could be a verb to nourish, or it could be food. So in this, it's nourishment. Yeah. Okay. The last word means it literally means mother, but it also means our source or origin. Okay. All right. Here's the basic meaning of second phrase. Nourishment from the source is more valuable. Yeah. Okay. So that's why he values or values the nourishment from mother, not the physical mother. I mean, yeah, in one aspect it is, but as a child, but in the spiritual sense. Okay. That's what, okay. Then here's a deeper meaning of means to rely on, to Eli. Okay. So therefore, another understanding of second phrase is reliance on the source is the most valuable. Okay, the ultimate source or the supreme source. Okay. So the deeper meaning of Mu, what's the Mu? Is the essence of Tao. That's the ultimate source. Okay. All right. Okay, so the deeper meaning is to value the dependence or to cherish the dependence on the essence of Tao for everything. Okay, so that's the higher level. Okay, or you can say the the intangible meaning or translation of the valuing from the value the nourishing mother. Okay, so the deeper understanding is this: Lao Tzu does not really regard all the phenomena as that important. It's always changing. It's not reliable, etc., etc. Okay, because it's not the ultimate source. These are all just results or functions of from the source. Okay, or yeah, manifestations of the source. So the higher understanding is that Lao Tzu's thought is that we should also enter into the world that is very pure and simple. So that's his thought. His teaching. He wanted us to be able to do that. Okay, not be stuck, in that cycle of pursuing, constantly pursuing, fame, fortune, power, etc., etc. Okay, because that's a rat race, a vicious cycle. Okay, so implication is this: the pure and simple world is the true realm, which is the true form or ultimate reality. Okay, 实相, it also means ultimate reality. Okay, all right. Okay, the highest, the ultimate reality, the true reality from the Buddhist perspective or from the Dharma Dhatu view. Okay. So, this is talked about a bit in chapter 16. So you guys, should review that. Okay. So the key point, here it is, conclusion. Lao Tzu, like all sages, do not regard all the phenomena as that important, right? Because, they are illusory. They're always changing, right? Never permanent, right? Because they are all illusory and false. Okay, that's what it is. While they value sages, that is, the dependence on the essence of Tao of Tao the most. They value that the most because it is the true form or ultimate reality. Okay, all right. So that's it. Okay, I've finished. Okay, so it's the essence of Tao. That's the most important. That's the title of the chapter. Okay. Now, he's talking about individually, right? Him, this whole chapter say, he alone is different, right? So next chapter, chapter 21. So this is on a personal scale, right? Personal level, or small scale. Okay, individual scale. Then chapter 21 is going to be talking about similar theme, similar theme, but he's going to talk about it on a grand scale, okay? Grand level, cosmic level, okay? Because the title of chapter 21 is From Tao, okay? From Tao. Now, this title is what? The essence of Tao, okay? All right, so, okay. Okay, that's all I have to say. Any questions? 攀援. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I translate it as social climber. It just means that you have the affinity. Okay, 缘 means affinity. It just means relationships, right? Let's see, where was that? I think that's in section 3. Now, I translate it as social climb. It does mean that too. Okay, it just means getting ahead. So what does that mean is that, let's say, you are in a lower position, or, you want to get ahead. That's a lower position. And let's say you have a boss or people of influence who could help you get ahead, right? So you would do things, you would ingratiate yourself. Here it is. Yeah, have goals, right? Have goals, have ends. So you would ingratiate yourself with them. So, well, an extreme would be you would do anything for them, for those people who can help you advance your objective, your goals, or your ends, whatever. You would do anything, for them to help you get ahead. Okay, so that's pretty desperate, right? Okay, right? You could do anything. So now, some people might say, okay, it may not be illegal, totally illegal, but I think at the very least, I don't want to say it's immoral, but it would definitely hurt your integrity, right? Your integrity, or even your conscience. It'll be, certain things that you'll be willing to do could be, going against your conscience, right? Okay,
you can keep very simple thinking. Not just try to. Maybe people just want to try to get a benefit because have their connections. So very simple. Some people might be thinking very low, thinking just like, okay, I can benefit something because we have some connection in between. So sometimes people thinking about that, but there's always cause and effect there.
Yeah.
That's the most important is cause and effect.
Yeah.
So, from Buddha nature point of view.
Yeah, there's a consequence.
Yeah.
There's a consequence that you have to pay, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then Buddha and the Holy Teacher always talk about this. Is probably one of the most important things we have to pay attention to. Yeah, don't 攀缘. Yeah, don't try to do that. Yeah, follow the affinities. 随缘, follow the affinities.
I mentioned a good example in my company. Okay, my colleague want to get promotion, and he has a laundry store, so he will get every day. He will get clothes, my boss clothes, and for free do the dry cleaning. Okay, so and then he got promotion, and the other colleague, he will paint the whole house for department head. So he is manager now.
Yeah, but there are consequences because then you're doing, it's like currying favor, right? You're doing people a favor, but with an ulterior motive, right? Right. So yeah, I'm painting the house for you, for free, but I have an ulterior motive. It's not that I'm doing it, because I'm so good. I'm a good person, right? I'm a kind person. I'm doing it because I have a goal in mind, right? So that's why this can be, dangerous. Right? It becomes with motive. It has motivations in your actions and thinking, right? So there are consequences to that.
Yeah, but one thing here is we think we gain something there. But the key here is in this lifetime we might gain something in material side. But in the future life, the person might have to pay something else for that. That's the problems. Okay? So Buddha and human being are different. We worry about consequence. But some people do not see the future lives or in the future what's going to happen after that. So you gain something this lifetime, the person must pay something in the futures.
Yeah, so this is very short term, right?
Yeah,
It's for the immediate future, right? My immediate benefit, right? 义利, right?
Yeah.
My immediate
Yeah,
benefit.
because we do have some example before. I think sometimes people remember there's one person go to the temple to pray, and then one of the monk have some thought coming out in his mind. It's just one thought, but in the future life, this monk had to reincarnate,
Right.
to have some kind of next life to have a relationship with this person. So remember, we have different the example there. Yeah, so we have to be very careful.
Yeah, it's dangerous because this is basically you're doing things with motive, with a motivation, right? So it's counter to Wu Wei, right?
Yeah.
Just counter to our Buddha nature, right? Our Buddha nature is no way or Wu Wei. We say Wu Wei, all right? This is you have a motive. You have an ulterior motive sometimes. Okay, I mean you have a motive, and then there's going to be consequence, right? Right. So that's why it's dangerous. You can say it's because we don't see it. We don't see the results right away. Yeah, we do see. Sorry, we do see the benefit right away, right? But the cost, we're gonna pay in the future, right?
Impact in the future.
Yeah. So there's no free lunch. Okay. so you get the benefit now. You get now benefit, but you're gonna have to pay later,
Yeah.
right?
Some people might have to reincarnate because of that.
Yeah. That's the worst consequence. I mean, or Okay. No more questions. I'd like to thank the great seven and the virtues of the masters, compassion and mercy of the predecessors, transmitters, temple masters, lecturers, for giving me this opportunity to give this talk. Okay. Thank you, everybody.